Welcome to the Scoop Roaders Sunday night. We have some more scrimmage recap intel. They graded the scrimmage immediately afterwards on Saturday. Spent some time with the recruits. A lot of good stuff came out of it. We're going to break down maybe James Laurinaitis' first official commitment, a kid that we're super excited about, and some other guys that look like they're coming into the fold. 2025 running back, 2024 receiver. A lot of big stuff shaking. A huge recruiting weekend and a great weekend overall for the Buckeyes. They had a very strong practice, ton of people there, no injuries, which is the most important, no major injuries, the most important part. And they're going to get back at it on Tuesday, another Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday slate. Super excited for it. Again, this is a great time of the year for guys to separate and try to lock down those spots. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff to talk about. I'm going to bring Nevadabuck here in a second. But as always, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys for joining us. We see you guys filing into the chat as always. Great seeing you guys. Again, it's always fun to break this stuff down. And again, break some film down with you guys and talk Ohio State football. That being said, going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you tonight?
Doing great, man. It's, what a great day of television. We had some terrific Final Four basketball, or I used to say Elite Eight to Final Four basketball. Some great games there. The Puck Bucks came up a little short, and another heck of a college hockey game I saw today. And yeah, it's been a fun day. It's been fun hearing about the grading on the scrimmage as well. So lots of exciting stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm really again I never really worried about the offensive line like a lot of people did, but I knew Josh Schreier was a worker. He's a tough guy. He's kind of a work truck guy. You know, Paris is more of a Lamborghini, but you can get it done with a work truck like Josh Schreier, and he's a guy that I think had a great scrimmage. He's a guy that's going to be only getting better as he gets more comfortable on the left side at left tackle. He has probably the best guard in the country in Donnie Jackson right on his right shoulder as he sets up at left tackle. So I think that's really going to be a strong side for us. Again, the hard part about spring right now with this offense is that you don't really have Marvin doing much. You don't have Emeka at all. You don't have Julian Fleming at all. You don't have Trey Henderson at all. You barely have Mine Williams. So it's not really kind of the full fledged. It's kind of like the offense is in second gear, and you've got about four more gears to climb to get into sixth gear. But Nevada, what were some of your thoughts as we got the initial, we were getting instant feedback during the scrimmage. And then as the grades, have started to trickle out, some of the intel you've heard after the scrimmage, what are some of the high points for you after Saturday's work?
Well, look, there's so many really exciting storylines right now, and we've talked about the emergence of the cornerbacks, and cornerbacks going from team weakness to almost team strength, and I'm calling that right now. The offensive line questions being answered, lots of depth being developed, and we got a lot of dudes on the offensive line. But I think the third story that I thought really came out of the grading for me was how good these incoming freshmen are. I mean, boy, these kids can play. I mean, they came in mid-year, and they can play right away. And we've talked about Davison. I mean, Carnell Tate is a dude. Noah Rogers is the dude. I like all the offensive linemen. I mean, this is a really good-looking group of incoming freshmen. Freshmen, it doesn't mean the same thing that it used to anymore because they're such finished products. They come in, they're so prepared. They've received the good nutritional training, the good physical training that's going on, better coaching. For the wide receivers, they're getting extensive the 7-on-7 practice. Their route running and coverage skills are better. But this incoming group of freshmen is special, and that you haven't even included the biggest dog of the big dogs, in my opinion, being Brandon Innes, who's not going to be here till a little bit later, but. This is a really good-looking group of freshmen, and the future sure bright for the Buckeyes.
Agree. I think that the training is incredible. I think Carnell Tate losing his black stripe before faster than anybody in the history of the program speaks volumes for the amount of 7-on-7 he played at South Florida Express. He went to IMG, made the business decision to go there, left kind of the comfort of his home in Chicago to go to a true training center at IMG Academy. So, that is a high level deal. That's all football all the time. Excellent weight program. So he showed up ready to rock. And again, with preparation, you meet opportunity, and then all of a sudden, he's rising up the depth chart, partially because, Emeka and Julian are out. Marvin's getting held. So, the twos kind of become the ones, the threes kind of become the twos. And, you get more good work, you get more reps because you have so many guys that are getting held off spring right now. And I think he's taking advantage of it. I thought that he was a kid that the first time I met him and his dad, I was at camp with him and I was with Bill Greene. We talked to him for probably about an hour. Great kid, great dad. Was a huge Ohio State fan back then. This is kind of before he blew up, and he was really good that day. I don't think he knew Brandon Innes yet. Innes was there. The South Florida Express guys are all there, but they were kind of like two ships passing in the night. They didn't know each other, but now they're like brothers. They're boys. They won the national championship last year at South Florida Express. So really excited about his development. I also think that the guy whose stock I'm buying more than anybody on the team at this point is Jack Sawyer. And a lot of people think I'm crazy because, we were high on him last year. The Jack position was not what we expected it to be. Again, it was a combination of it wasn't used as aggressively as it was at Oklahoma State. And also, it just wasn't used as frequently. I mean, we used it about 10 to 15 plays a game. And when that's Jack's role, and it's kind of like being if we go two tight ends and we run that 15 plays a game or whatever, that's all that Mitch Rossi really would get. So, with Jack, he never really could get into a rhythm game wise. And I think now that he's back to being a traditional defensive end, I think that there's just some guys that they play better when they're lower, when they're aggressively coming off the ball, as opposed to reading and reacting as the Jack kind of does as kind of a semi linebacker deal. And I've seen this even in the NFL where there's guys that are on teams, they're defensive ends. They fire the head coach, they bring in a new staff. The new staff runs a 3-4. So, guys like Joey Bosa go from being, hand on the ground defensive ends to stand up linebackers. I think, some guys are can do it. Some guys aren't quite as good at it. I think Jack is a million times better at this hand on the ground than out of a 2-point. I think he's going to pay big dividends going forward. Nevada, whose stock would you buy? Maybe some guys that maybe the fan base is down on or the team is down on. Guys that you think this time next year they're going to be bona fide starters and or stars.
Well, the first guy stock that I'm buying is Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles stock I'm buying a lot of that because I know the fan base is down on him. I know they want to fire him, and I know that they want to throw out little lazy takes like he runs a gimmicky defense or he gets paid $2 million or whatever it is. But I'm buying all the Jim Knowles stocks I can get right now, and it's been pointed out. Do you know who else runs the jack and runs the three safety look? Georgia and Alabama, and they've been pretty good. And they run that gimmicky defense, and it's worked out pretty well for them. But I digress. In terms of players, I'm going to give you a name that probably you're not going to expect to hear from me, but I'm buying I like Dallin Hayden a lot. And I was not high on Dallin Hayden when he came out of high school. I thought he was a good pickup for Ohio State. Didn't think it was an elite pickup. The running back room is just stacked with guys that I love, guys that I have a lot of respect for, guys that I know that are going to play at the next level. Dallin's right there. Dallin is right there in the mix, and he's a guy that I just think is going to be terrific whenever he gets the opportunity. And as much as I've been worried about that running back room kind of clearing out after next year, Dallin's going to be there to carry the load for 1 year, and I think that he's going to be 3 and done. So I'm buying Dallin Hayden. Defensively, Kenyatta Jackson is a guy that I like. It's a guy that I like. Position of need, guy that we really need to be good. And he's flashing. He's flashing on the field. He's flashing off the field. He's grading out really well. He's grading out really well in the written part of the mental part of being a Buckeye and being a defensive player. And every time he's getting in the field, you notice him. So those are kind of my two players in stock that I'm buying. So that with the Knowles thing is the Nevadabuck Troika for Sunday. That's the stocks to buy.
I love it. Folks in the chat, who are you buying? I see a Kenyatta Jackson. I see a Jair Brown. Great picks. A guy whose stock I'm going to buy, who I've been on for longer than probably anybody, is James Laurinaitis. James Laurinaitis is getting rave reviews from inside the Woody Hayes right now. The people I've talked to, again, I think he's on that trajectory of fast track to being a coordinator, fast track to being a head coach. He's got the it factor. And I've seen guys that that have it. I've seen guys that people think have it and they don't really have it. Because there's a lot of people that aren't really smart, especially in the media world, that they get fooled easily by some of the glitz and glamour, and they don't really know the meat and potatoes behind a guy. But James kind of has everything. Like he's got the ability to relate to recruits. We're going to get into Peyton Pierce's film. He's a guy that looks like is going to be James's first big get. Because again, he's a tenacious recruiter, extremely personable. He's got a great family. He kind of has all the aspects that you need to really be a lockdown corner, a lockdown recruiter. And again, I think that he's the guy that he has to be accountable coach next year. I think you have to move somebody. I hate that they gave Parker Fleming a 2-year extension because I think James should have taken his spot. But that's my opinion. Obviously, I'm extremely biased, but I also think for the best interest of our defensive recruiting, James has to be he has to be on the road. That's a guy he's a dynamo out there, and I think Brian Hartline obviously has had fantastic success. But I think Ryan Day's offense has a lot to do with that as well. I think if your Urban's offense and you're running the quarterback a little bit more, you don't get these gaudy numbers that our wide receivers have put up. But it's kind of the chicken or the egg type thing. Is it Ryan Day's offense? Is it Brian Hartline's development? But regardless of it, our throwing offense has been as good as any team in history over the last 5-6 years, record breaking. So it's going to be interesting to see how James continues to grow. With that being said, we're going to get into some Peyton Pierce film. He's a young kid. I love his jersey. I'm just going to say that right away because his school is like Clowney school, Jadavian Clowney. They rock like kind of a mawkish Ohio State jersey. So we're going to see. So obviously we're off to a good start already. I mean, he's got the black pants. I know we don't rock the black pants, but we got the stripe. So it's pretty close. So we're going to run some of this tape. You see the stats. This is sophomore year film. But again, this is a kid that he plays absolutely downhill, smash mouth. This is the kind of guy James wants. He's a guy that he's not scared to get in the backfield. Nevada, your thoughts on Peyton Pierce? I think he's in the fold. It's going to be a war to get him here, but if we win, this is a huge feather in James's cap. I love the pass rush too.
Well, I think we're getting him. Two, he reminds me of his highlights remind me of Mike Mitchell, the Abusement Park Mitchell, which has to go as one of the greatest nicknames of all time. The Abusement Park. I still love that. That still makes me smile every time I say that. But no, I love this kid, and if Laurinaitis can do it, I don't have any reason to believe that he won't. Like you said, there are certain guys that just have it, and you know it when you see it, and you know it, the guys that are on the fast track and the guys that can check all the boxes. And James is one of those guys. But and again, I don't want to take us too far down this rabbit hole. We're talking about all this good stuff, but it just makes me wonder why Ohio State would not return his calls for years when he was interested in coming to work for him.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre to me that happened, but that happened. That's exactly what happened. And now, he's back and it all's right with the world. But man, come on, this guy's going to be a great coach. I think this is going to be his first big time recruit.
Yeah, it's just funny because that was a real story, and I never get it because some of these guys that they weren't good players in college, and they had to like go pay their dues and be a GA and be a QC and go coach at little tiny schools and kind of work their way up. Like they don't think a guy like James or an NFL guy will want to work at it. And I'm like, well, like James, anything James has ever done, he's been really good at. He's the all-time leading tackler for the Rams. I thought he was a fantastic color commentator, and I told him that. I was like, I thought he's one of the best color commentators in the game, but he didn't like the travel. He didn't like the lack of competition. And some guys are wired like that. They want to, be part of a team, forever. Like I said, I did the same job James is doing. I enjoyed it, but I also, I enjoy my anonymity and I enjoy just being able to enjoy football like I do now. Like there's no pressure in breaking down tape and podcasting and getting inside information like there is when, you gotta go up to Ann Arbor and beat Michigan this year, guys. I mean, there's no more screwing around. We've lost 2 years in a row. So that's real pressure. That's something that these guys got to change the culture and get that toughness back on offense and defense the way that it used to be. But I think James is a guy that he gets it. I think we got a little too far away from it. Like Urban really got it just because he's an Ohio guy. Trussell obviously got it. He was an Ohio guy. I think we got away from it a little bit, and I think that we got to get back to being feared because there was a time where Michigan, they feared us, and that's gone now after these last years of getting shellacked. So, but getting kids like this, these kids that can hit and run and they're tough, like again, like these are the kind of guys that win the Ohio State Michigan game. Like again, like we need the AJ Hawks and the Schlegels, and I was fortunate to play with some fantastic linebackers during my career. Rob Reynolds, AJ, Bobby, Schlegs, obviously James Laurinaitis, Marcus Free. I mean, some guys that are really good players. And, you need those guys to beat Michigan. You really do. People obviously remember Bobby Carpenter getting his leg broke, and James came in and played, 15 or 20 plays or so. We were in nickel a lot that game, but you need everybody against those guys, especially up in Ann Arbor. But yeah, this kid is, he is a baller. I mean, they play him as a Wildcat quarterback, and they love blitzing him. I mean, he gets there quick. I mean, look at him. He trucks this guard right here. And again, this is, he doesn't really have to do this, but he just does it just to get a crack on a guy. And I love guys that do kind of stuff like this. He's not scared, and this guard better eat his Wheaties next time because he got put on his butt by our boy Payton. But yeah, I like him. Nevada, who does he remind you of other than the amusement park?
Well, like I said, he does have a little bit of Bobby Carpenter in him, and the way he plays though with that reckless abandon. It's kind of a Thaddeus Gibson coming off the edge there. I like the way that Thaddeus used to rush the passer, and this guy's got kind of that same type of move, that kind of those cat-like moves off the outside, and like he gets there with bad intentions. And I love to pull kids out of Texas because they're playing a good brand of football. They've been playing football, been well coached, and I look at how much success Ohio State's had in that state. This would be another great get for Ohio State, and you know I like I said, you can't have enough kids like this in the roster. I remember when James Laurinaitis committed to Ohio State. At least in my mind, now this could be an imperfect memory, but I think it was relatively late in the process. I want to say it was like December or something like that, and he kind of came
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere, and then he committed to Ohio State. And let me tell you, it was not met with great fanfare. It wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, we got this kid from Minnesota, and
yeah.
his dad used to be one of the Road Warriors, and that's kind of cool. And nothing about him screamed three-time All-American, LA Rams all-time leading tackler, but that's why you just never know. And some, like you said, some kids have it and some kids don't. And this kid certainly seems to have it in abundance, and would love to see him do it for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, James is a kid. He's from Wayzata. He's a hockey player. And I think when you kind of get graded down when you come from a state that we never take anybody from, like we never take kids from Minnesota. So it's like taking a kid from South Dakota or something almost. But James, I remember the first spring where he was kind of penciled in as a starter in '06. Like, I thought he was good. Now, did I think he'd be an All American that year? No, of course not. And you got to remember the year before, we're going against Schlegel and Hawk and Bobby, especially Schlegs. Because, when most of the time when you're going against linebackers, it's in a running period. And Schlegs, like he brings the wood every single play. And, and James, obviously, he tried to be as physical as Schlegs, but Schlegs weighed like 255. Like he was fat back then, and he would run down and kill. I mean, I had so many stingers from Schlegs. It was unbelievable. And so, James could hit, but he couldn't hit as hard as Schlegs because he wasn't as fat. Schlegs was fat back in the day. And man, you look at some of his old photos. I mean, he had the cowboy collar on and knee brace, neck brace, elbow brace. But when he came downhill, man, it hurt. And AJ was kind of the same way. AJ just wasn't as heavy as Schlegs was back in the day. But no, I love this kid's film. In the comments, who does he remind you of? You guys have watched kind of through the first loop. We're gonna flip it off and put we're gonna put actually Bo Jackson on from Ville Angel St. Joseph up in Cleveland. Watch him a little bit too. But who does he remind you of? I really like him. We got Detroit. We got Detroit in the house. Washington Courthouse. Appreciate you guys being in here. Nevada, who's kind of one of your favorite kind of underrated, lower tiered recruits who maybe you were higher on than most, and then he developed into kind of a franchise guy like James did. Because again, like you said, James was not. He was probably a 3-star, I'd guess, if he was coming out, and he turned into a 3-time All-American, Ohio State Hall of Famer. Are there any other guys that, off the top of your head, you remember were kind of like that path in recruiting? They blossomed into stars.
Well, there was one guy you guys might remember. His name was Chris Olave. Played at Ohio State a while back, and yeah, Olave is one of my all time favorite under the radar kids because they tell the story about how they went out there and they're looking at the quarterback and they need some guys to catch the passes and they went out there and they're like, oh wow, look at your wide receiver. But we'd all knew about Olave out here on the West Coast before that, and so for me that was one of my favorite ones because I was just banging the drum about Chris Olave, and he never got above. I don't think he was above 3-star. I don't think anybody ever rated him above that. And when he came to Ohio State, I kept hearing good things about him. I kept talking about him. I'd be like, "Oh, this guy's great. This guy's great. He's gonna be terrific." And he didn't do anything. Like he just never really got a chance to play. And then all of a sudden, the Michigan game comes,
Yeah.
and I know he caught at least 2 that day, and I know he blocked the punt. And it was just like the next there, but it's like Olave will always be my favorite underrated recruit because that was one that we were screaming for an offer for him from out here on the West Coast. Finally got it, commits, goes to the Buckeyes, and but that freshman year was just a lost year because he just didn't play. And then all of a sudden at the end of the year, he just blows up and he becomes this mega star that we've all seen. So that's probably one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that game. I was there, and I was like, who's this? Who's 17? Chris Olave. Oh, cool. Welcome to the show. Um, we're gonna go into a little bit of Bo Jackson film. Again, he's out of VASJ. Um, he's likely in the boat 2025, so he's going to be a junior this year. So he's got 2 more years of high school. Well, we'll take a little look at him. Again, running back recruiting. This guy, I love his film. I kind of watched it in the pre-show. I'll throw it on for you guys. Oh, we got Todd is in here from Temecula, California, home of Dan Henderson. Hendo. Love it. All right, let me Hendo, the king of he had, I think, or Cinch Gear was the name of his brand. I watched him when he hit Bisping with that shot at UFC 100. It was unbelievable. Thought he killed him. Let me see if I can get this. I think I'm just got to play it. Let's see our boy. All right, I'll just run it raw like this. Kaboom. All right, so this is Bo Jackson, Cleveland kid. Boogieing. Not much resistance there, but here's a 95-yard touchdown playing daytime football, which means I don't know if they're in a bad area or what. They play those daytime games, man. Unless it's the first quarter, it's usually rough end of town. But he is a freak show. It looks like they may be playing St. V there. This looks like a scrimmage. Got the practice jerseys on. A little stretch play. He's got jets though. Like I said, he seems like he's a big time running back. I love the physicality there. He drills that guy at the end of the run. That's a good question, Nevada. Oh, that's funny. Tosh said he's just in Hendo's gym a couple weeks ago. See, I know my Temecula trivia. I think Ryan Montgomery is the quarterback. Ryan asked the question if Underwood from Michigan is 2025. I think Montgomery's the guy. Unless something changes. Here he is playing some defense. Oh, I like this. Love it. Nevada, do you grade guys up when they're 2-way players, or does that matter at all to you?
Well, first of all, I give players extra points for their name. You know what I'm saying? And when you're named Bo Jackson, then you've
Yeah.
got to like the expectations that come along with it. I mean, can you imagine if your name was like Archie Cornelius Griffin Cousineau Gratishar or something like that, and be like, "Wow, man, I bet you're a really good football player." And you're like, "No, I don't even play football." I'd be like, "Man, that name's wasted. That was a perfect football name." But I mean, Bo Jackson, what a great football name! And you're a running back, and your name is Bo Jackson. Yeah. Well, now as for playing both ways, I think that if you're a high school player, you better play both ways. So you better, if you're one of the best athletes on the field, you better be playing both ways. It always gives me pause when kids don't play both ways. I want to see kids play both ways, play on special teams, and do the old Marshawn Lattimore, play on special teams and jump 17 feet in the air and block kicks.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I want to see guys return punts and return kickoffs and do it all. Those are the type of kids that I want on my team. But Bo Jackson certainly gets it done on both sides of the ball, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I mean he's only a sophomore in this tape, so I mean, he's got a lot of growing to do, a lot of natural growth to do. He's getting a lot stronger, but natural catcher here, get him out in space. I like him. Good balance, tough. He's not scared of contact, which again, I always check to see if these guys are allergic to contact, if they're always trying to break it outside. But he drops the boom on these guys. I mean, he did it on the first play. Here he's fighting for extra yards. So, he's the guy that I'm really intrigued by. Like I love his tape so far. Again, the quickness. I love when guys like this just pull away from safeties and corners, and that he's got the jets to take it to the house. Because again, like the guys that have the breakaway speed, those are the guys that are the killers in the running back position. Like Trey, I mean, his freshman year, man, he was ripping off long touchdowns, and that's something that I think it just adds such an element of danger to an offense when a back can take it to the crib. And Bo looks like he can be that guy. I'm super excited about this. Like I said, he's still 2 years out. But he's projected to be a Buckeye, obviously, being from Cleveland at all. This is a little tunnel screen. Yeah. He's coming back with a holding call, but how far does he get? It looks like a horse collar too. But like I said, I really like this kid's tape. It's really good. Like I said, I'll take it all day. Yeah, like I said, we have to replenish that running back room because we're gonna lose Trey after this year. We'll lose Mayan after this year. And who knows if we have any transfers? You never know what the running back room is gonna look like. Yeah, I like it. Here he's playing linebacker again. I love these guys that play both ways. I think you gotta have a certain type of physicality to do it. And again, I'm with you. I think I question guys that don't play both ways in high school because like the games aren't really that long, and even if you play like 1.5 ways and they rest you like every other series on defense and you play the whole time on offense, I think that's worth doing. But guys that only play one way in high school, it's almost comical to me. I totally agree, Steven. Steven says, I'm going to toss this on here. He'd like to see the Bucks pound the ball more, run the ball more. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that? Do you want to see them run the ball more and be physical and point to where they're running the ball and say that no one's going to stop me?
That's what I want. I want Justin Fry's daughter to stand up and say, my daddy says we're going to run through that hole, and we're going to be able to get it done every single time. But no, unfortunately, we have Ryan Chuck It Charlie Day as our coach, and he likes the forward pass. He likes it a lot.
Oh, man.
It's almost like he's like Newt Rockney, and he invented the forward pass, and he just loves it, man. He was a quarterback, and he loves that quarterback thing, and he loves dialing up those passes. And it's almost when he calls the runs, you can almost tell it's done really reluctantly. It's
God.
he will not commit to the run. He just will not commit to the run. He will not commit. And if a run goes wrong, he immediately switches the path. He will not stick with it. We're not going back to that because that didn't work. So no, I think would I like to see us pound the ball more? Yes. Do I think we will? No. But it is what it is. We came with a field goal, winning the national championship. I think, frankly, in today's college football, if you ask, what do you want to be proficient at, running the ball or passing the ball? It's passing the ball because passing, it's so overpowered. You can move the ball up and down the field, in large chunks, very quickly. And, all the playoff games are going to be played in domes. There's never going to be weather. There are going to be issues for, a Big Ten championship game or for a, first round of the playoffs or a national championship game. You're never going to worry about inclement weather. So, I think we just got to embrace the new world because as long as Ryan Day's the head coach, we're going to be a pass first team, and that's just the way it is.
If Brian Hartline is the full-time offensive coordinator for the Arch, I know he is, and I know that we've confirmed that he is going to be the play caller. Do we actually throw it statistically more in 2023 than we did in 2022? It's a question.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible to throw it more than we did. Like, I was gonna say we threw it so much. I mean, they got to run it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like he's got his little check sheets in there, and because like during the scrimmage, he called like 20 straight passes. Now that could have just been Ryan saying, "Hey, let's work on some passing stuff or whatever it was." But man, there it was like, "Hey, let's go pass. Anybody who was there knows. I mean, they saw like 20 straight passes. So no, I think it'll be about the same. I think Ohio State's going to want to, they've got great running backs. They've got a great ability to control the game, on the ground. But you're not going to be great at everything. I mean, we'd love to be the greatest passing team and the greatest running team and have the perfectly balanced offense. But the reality is, you've only got 20 hours of practice time a week. You can only commit so many different things to so many, different players. And you've got Marvin Harrison, who's Megatron. He is Megatron with his dad's brain, with Marvin Harrison Sr.'s brain and Megatron's body. That's what you got out at wide receiver. So, hey, let's start passing it. I'm on the Chuck at Charlie bandwagon. Let's go. Let's throw it, Ryan. Let's go.
So I threw on some Air Noland tape. He's the guy that is going to commit in the next few weeks. He's the guy that is going to come visit Ohio State on his own dime coming up. And Ohio State says, hey, if you show up, we're going to offer you capital O, capital F, capital F, capital E, capital R offer, like a real committable offer. Nevada, if he does become Ohio State's 2024 quarterback after Jaden Davis, the Dylan Raiola fiasco, Julian Sayin, would you be excited about this kid?
Well, this would mark a real change for Ryan Day. So make no mistake, if he gets this kid is not a great passer in terms of the pure passers that we've seen. He's not in the mold of a C.J. Stroud or even a Justin Fields in college in terms of being like a great passer. He's not a great 7-on-7 player because he's just not a precision stand right back there and pass the ball type of guy. He's a guy that can get it down with his legs. He's really kind of that modern type of quarterback that can run as well as pass. So if Ryan Day takes him, that'll be the second quarterback in a row that, between Lincoln from San Diego or from South Dakota, rather San Diego on the mind, and Air Noland, where you've got two guys that are athletic, and that follows Devin Brown, who's also very athletic. So that could, to me, this would indicate a radical change in the way that Ryan Day is viewing the quarterback position. And so I think this could be one of the most important commits, non-commits in the recent history of Ohio State football. Watch this one very carefully, because if he gets the offer and he does commit, Ryan Day is changing the way that he's addressing the quarterback position. And I think that would be a very, very positive thing and something that would help us take that next step.
I agree. I mean, he's a kid that he's got Clemson. His final seven are kind of the who's who's. It's Bama, Clemson, Arkansas, the U, Ohio State, A&M, and Oregon. So you've got three NIL powerhouses, us, Bama, and Clemson rounding it out. The NIL powerhouses being Miami, A&M, and Oregon. But yeah, he's committing on April 8th. So, it's coming down to the wire. And again, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Does he stay there? But again, I just don't, I don't want to say I don't care about who we get at quarterback anymore, just because I know that we're always going to be active in the portal. I know we're always going to be searching for better. But I like this kid. I met him. He has a cannon for an arm. I literally stood next to him while he was throwing with Jeremiah Smith at a South Florida Express event about 5-6 weeks ago. And he has an absolute cannon. And he's a lefty, which is a little different, but super nice kid. Like I said, and ultra productive. State of Georgia, his team broke the record for most points scored in a high division in Georgia. So, I mean, he played with Jelani Thurman. I mean, this is big time football right here. This isn't, Virginia or Minnesota football. This is Georgia football. So to break that record is intriguing, like I said, but it's just been such a strange chronicle of the 2024 quarterback with, Jane Davis being kind of the first guy that we thought we were going to get, to the Dylan Raiola commitment where we told Jaden Davis to go fly a kite, and took Dylan Raiola's commitment, and there was kind of like a Hollywood kind of shotgun wedding where they got married and they're all excited, and then after like 6 months it just blew up like the Hindenburg, and then we had to kind of reset the entire thing, and it's just been a long strange trip for the 2024 recruiting class. But if we end up with Arrow, I mean, I'll be good with it. Again, I always get excited about every single commitment, as you guys should too, because you never know who's going to shake out. Some of these guys they're all business and they're great, and there's some of these guys that get to campus and they can't play dead. So it's always the best thing to do is just let everything sort itself out and just know that we're in good hands, and Ohio State's still going to be good. But yeah, like I like this kid's film, and again, I love athletic quarterbacks just because I think that they're harder to defend, like flat out. You ask pass rushers, would you rather go against a guy that can move in the pocket, or do you want to go against a statue? And well, they're inevitably going to say, we want to go against the guys that are statues because then we can actually pass rush. We don't have to worry about contain rushing and doing some of the stuff that you have to do versus athletic guys that'll get out of the pocket on you. But yeah, like I said, I like this guy's tape. I think, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It looks like it's gonna be Jane Davis is going to Michigan. He hasn't committed yet, but that's ever an indication he's gonna be a Wolverine. So, it's gonna be interesting because we told that kid who looked like he was an Ohio State lead to go fly a kite, and we're gonna be seeing him probably for at least 3 years. So, it'll be real interesting with that one. Nevada, is there anyone that Air reminds you of as you watch him? Obviously, it kind of throws you off that he's a lefty just because he's obviously not Steve Belisario, but is there anyone NFL wise or former Ohio State wise that he reminds you of? He's kind of a different cat.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's got a little bit of Michael Vick, and which is a natural comparison whenever you're talking about an athletic left-handed quarterback right there. He's the first one that kind of comes to mind. But this
Yeah.
is a guy like he's not afraid to tuck it down. He's not afraid to deliver a shot in terms of going in there. So
Yeah.
the Belisari comparisons are not bad ones for sure. But he's got a little bit of Josh Allen in him in terms of the way that he plays the game, and in terms of they'll call that design quarterback run for him. That they're not afraid to do it because this is a guy that they'll take there and he'll go and he'll get the corner and he'll turn it in, and around the goal line, those plays where the quarterback's running are just so devastating and they're so hard to defend, especially if you pull it and you give the guy a pass run option on top of the option to give take. Then you've given about 4 or 5 options in the play, and I just don't know how defense guards all those spots. And no, this kid's a do-it-all kid. Like you said, I think they scored something like 700 points in a season in Georgia football. It was some ridiculous number. It was like 57 a game or something, broke the all-time record. So yeah, this is the kid I would take and not look back. And Jaden, I wish Jaden well. I have no hard feelings about Jaden. And as for Dominic Raiola, even though we're not talking about him more, bust. I'm calling it right now. He's going to be a bust. Now that's probably easy. It's easy to pile on, but never had a great feeling about him. Now watch him go win 4 Heismans wherever he goes. But that's the Nevadabuck kiss of death to Dominic. You're going to be a bust, Dominic.
Yeah. Dylan.
Whatever.
I got you. Your buddy.
Whatever. Your buddy. Your pal.
my pal. All right. But no, this is like the stuff you can do when you have a guy that's athletic. So this is a true RPO. Now look at how hard this is to defend. So you're running a read option here, and this is your read right here. You're reading this defensive end. He's going to crash down and take the running back, which means you're going to pull the ball. So Air pulls it. Now, might use a lefty, so I'm sure that they scheme this so he's rolling out to the left. But look at his options right here. He can dump it here, which he's not going to do just because he's in coverage. Jelani is hooking up right here. And he, if you had him on like a little curl route, you've got, 1, 2, and then run. So, I mean, like, that's the type of situation that you get put into when you have a guy who's an athlete like this and you're down inside the 5-yard. Like, how do you defend that? That's impossible to defend. Like, I mean, literally, like, you put, if he, touches him and just boom, he's open. If Jelani hooks it up here, he's open. So and again, none of these guys are downfield because again, this is an RPO and they're well coached. So they're about, a foot downfield. So, this is not going to be too far down or, illegal man downfield or whatever. So Again, this is why I love this stuff because, like, again, so instead, as soon as he breaks it, this guy has to try to make it. This guy has to try to make it. He's too fast, and then you have Jelani lead blocking on air, and you have blocking. So it's like that's just so hard to defend. And again, it's like, I love stuff that like if you're the defensive coordinator, it's like you hand them the mark and say, teach me how to defend that. How do you defend that? I don't know. Like, I mean, there's no good answer for it. I mean, you just gotta pray that they make the wrong decision on the read or whatever. But this is a dime. I mean, he gets away with one here because this D tackle probably thinks he's getting a deflected pass. I don't know how he gets this thing off, but he does. Puts it in the window, and this kid, that's not the one where he splits him, but yeah, I love watching Georgia football, man. Because these are like big time plays, and I love the ones that go to 33 because that's our boy. That's our boy Jelani Thurman. So, um, again, I know Brian Hartline thinks this kid is maybe the best in the country. So, there's some guys in Ohio State's office that think this guy's the guy. So it's gonna be real interesting to see. Do we jump in the boat with him and give him that offer? Because you give him that offer, he's your guy. So, if we don't offer him when he comes up here, then you're not going to see him again. He's probably going to go to Clemson or somewhere else. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I know that the production is an A+. I think that the physical traits are, they have to be an A to A-. I don't know the kid. I talked to him briefly, 5-10 minutes. The day that I was at the South Florida Express thing, he wasn't playing for whatever reason. So I don't know if they rotate the days that the quarterback works, but he is a built dude. I mean, of all the quarterbacks I've been around in terms of just like physically being built like a house, like he's a freaking house. So the kid's obviously a worker. So like again, he's intriguing. Like I said, I think that, like you said, I mean, nobody's the natural throw that CJ Stroud is, but is he kind of like a Justin Fields where he can run and throw? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, Justin had a pretty good year in the NFL in a year where he was literally playing for the worst team in the entire league. He almost made the Pro Bowl just because of his running ability. So, yeah, but it'll be interesting to see where this kid ends up. So, what are we at? Oh, 42. So, I think I'm going to wrap this, Nevada. Any final questions? We're going into the third week of spring ball. So, you'll have another scrimmage on Saturday. It'll be student day. So, it'll probably be another lighter scrimmage. Again, I don't know why they have all these kind of big events around these days that should be full on out scrimmages, but that's their prerogative. But any wrap up thoughts on some of the kids we watched, some of the scrimmage stuff? Any final thoughts?
Well, no, just I think Ohio State's answering questions pretty early here in spring ball. I know people were fretting about the cornerbacks and about the offensive line. I really think those questions are being answered. I think the one thing that's an open question right now is how good are we going to be at quarterback, which is really not a concern, but it is a question about who's it going to be. Is it going to be Devin? Is it going to be Kyle? I think a lot of it's going to come down to how they handle adversity and how do they bounce back when they make a bad play? How quickly can they kind of get back into that happy place and have that kind of that swagger and that confidence that kind of rubs off on the other players. But no, I think this 2023 team is going to be going in with not a lot of question marks. It's going to be fun watching us unwrap the presents, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of talent up and down the roster, and the Buckeyes already answered a lot of questions during the spring, and I can't wait for a few more weeks to see a little bit more about this quarterback battle, because that's really the last open question I have in my mind, and it'll be fun to see how that plays out.
Yeah, like you said, it is interesting that a lot of the spots seem like they're kind of wrapped. Quarterback obviously is still an open competition. Right tackle's an open competition, but outside of that, I mean, the corners, who's going to be the number 2 corner behind Denzel? Is it Jordan? Is Davis? It doesn't really matter because they're all going to play. The safeties, there's obviously some questions with Josh Proctor, coming back, and him and Lathan Ransom opening up as first team safeties. Is it, who ends up being not just the day one starters week one, but when we get into the grind of the middle of the season, who are the starters then? Because that's the thing that people don't realize. Like, just because you're the starter week 1 doesn't mean you're the starter week 6. And that's something that Josh Proctor found out last year. He started the first game, and then he was set off into the ether after a couple weeks. So, or after a couple plays. So again, it's gonna be interesting to see how that shakes out through the summer and through fall camp. So. But as always, we appreciate you guys. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to head on to BuckeyeScoop.com. Again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Leave us a like. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. Comment, who do you want to see step up week 3 of spring ball? Who surprised you? Whose stock are you buying? Who is someone that people are down on that you are not? Like Jack Sawyer is a guy that I think is just going to have a huge year. He's going to kind of live up to his billing, hand back in the dirt. Different look in his eye, a lot of confidence, leaner. Again, it's when these guys hit money time, it's time to go. He's draft eligible now, so there's no more. Well, I still got a whole another year to go. Now this is your year, so it kind of changes guys like JT and Jack when the money is on the table, and you see guys like Paris and some of these guys that go 3 and out. Like that's what all these guys want to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do. So. Again, we thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys being on here with us. Again, we love doing this with you guys. Again, you guys are the lifeblood of what we do. If you guys are not members of BuckeyeScoop.com, you guys need to jump on there because we were having live scrimmage updates the entire scrimmage last week. So it was pretty cool getting some real-time feedback on what was going on. But again, it's so fun to interact with our members. We have a fantastic group of people that belong to BuckeyeScoop.com. Super active board. Really, really good people. So as always, we appreciate you guys. Again, comment, whose stock are you buying? I want to see it in the comments down below. Put the names in. Leave us a like. If you guys are listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps people find our show and content. That being said, as always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.